Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Integrity Restored podcast. I'm Jim O'Day, your host, and I am so blessed to be joined again today by my good friend, my brother, Father Allen Hoffa. He's one of the very valued team members here at Integrity Restored. And today's topic, ladies and gentlemen, is 15 minutes to change your marriage. Last time Father and I were together, we talked about 10 minutes to change your life. And now 15 minutes to change your marriage. Pretty exciting stuff, Father, that we could change our marriage in 15 minutes.
I love it.
You know, there's so many people who struggle in their marriage, particularly in our work here at Integrity Restored, for a lot of reasons. And it can feel insurmountable. So this idea that there's something we could do for 15 minutes, I think that's going to be really, really enticing to a lot of our listeners.
Yeah. You know, one of the things I always say, God blesses the work. And, you know, for some of us, we could sit there, and especially if you work in ministry and stuff, you know, if you're just trying to, you know, sort of open yourself up and say, okay, God, just, you know, pour it in, and you're waiting and you're waiting and you're waiting. It doesn't necessarily happen for me. It's a lot in the human dynamic of people that I work with, and what their need is challenges me to go to the Lord and be like, okay, Lord, someone is presenting this need and I need you to help me so that, again, I'm just here as your instrument. You do it. And he never lets me down. It never lets any of us down, but
Right.
We need to put ourselves in that opportunity to receive. So, you know, in my ministry, I meet with all different people with all different situations. Again, you know, a large part of it, you know, you've said on previous things, especially when we did 3 Pillars to Purity, you know, you're the porn guy, and wouldn't your mother be proud? And I'm Father Porn, and you know, my mother's very proud as well. But you know, that takes up a lot of time of what we do in work and in ministry. But then, you know, as a pastor, people come and, you know, they're just bringing up their situations. And so I work with a couple of couples who are struggling in marriage. And it's amazing how, you know, the same things come up over and over and over again. It's, you know, same problems, different details, I like to say. And I never say that I've heard it all, because when I do, then that's when something completely crazy and off the walls coming my way. So I never say that. And I haven't heard or seen it all, but I've encountered a good bit, and I've been blessed to be there in God's presence, you know, to help these folks. And one of the things
I just got to interject because this is hysterical. I was on the phone with a priest this morning, and he did not give any details, but he just said to me, he said, "You know, Jim, I've said for years." He's been a priest a long time. I've said for years, I've heard it all in the confessional. Well, that wasn't true.
Yeah. No. Especially when I worked in high school stuff, the vice principal who was there when I first started, he said to me, he says, listen, he said, I'm not a superstitious man. I just know how one thing happens after the other. Never, ever, ever say you've heard or seen it all, because the moment that you do, get ready, brother. And yeah. So, you know, I think that when it comes to couples and marriages, one of the things that I always do in marriage prep is talk to my couples about barrier-free relationships. And this covers a number of different things, you know, making sure there's not contraceptives. But a big one, for instance, comes up with communication, barrier-free communication. And one of the things I say to them, listen, if other than what you're getting them for anniversary, birthday, and Christmas, if ever it comes into your mind that I can't speak to my spouse about that, the horns better start going off. The sirens better start lighting up, because you're headed down a path of danger. There should be nothing that you can't say to your spouse. Nothing other than those 3 presents that you're getting for them to keep it a secret. And one of the things that comes out is that a lot of these couples who are struggling in their marriage have stopped communicating, you know. And again, what does it go back to? When they first met, they were friends and they talked about everything. And then life happened, work happened, responsibility happened, kids happened, keeping up with the Joneses happened. And what wasn't happening was the continued growth of the two of them as a couple by the constant communication. And I tell people all the time, and this is something that is countercultural: husband and wife come first, kids come second.
Oh,
That's not
amen.
to say that they're neglected, but it is to say you will be better parents to those kids if you, as husband and wife, are strong in your unity and bond together.
Yeah.
But if you keep stretching to make sure that they're the priority, the kids come number one, guess what? One day, those kids are going to move out of the house, and you're going to be looking at the other person across from you saying, you know what? We've been parents of the same kids for a long, long time, but husband and wife, darn, that hasn't happened in a long, long time. And one of the first areas where it breaks down is communication.
Yep.
And one of the most important areas of communication, as we know in our faith, is prayer, communication with God. The more and more we talk with God, the more we find out about ourselves, the more we find out about the people we're in a relationship with, especially our spouse.
Yep.
And so in my communications with God as a priest, my spouse is the church. And I find out a lot more about my spouse. I find out not only about what my spouse needs, but what my spouse is telling me that I need to change and look at. And it opens up my eyes. And God is so good in that way. So when we talked about the 10 minutes that can change your life, one of the things I brought up was the Kairos retreat that comes from the Jesuits when I was when I was in high school, and then subsequently as a priest introduced it to the lives of many students. And one of the activities that is within the Kairos retreat is a thing called shared prayer. And so, you get together and, if you have a kid who is going to go on Kairos, don't tell them about this because it's a surprise and a secret. So, disclaimer there. I don't want people who, saying, oh my gosh, how's he putting out this stuff about Kairos and everybody's going to find out about it. Don't show it to anybody who's not graduated from high school. There you go. There's the rule from Father Hoffa today. But basically, in one of the exercises, you get a crucifix. And after you've gone into this sort of deepening of understanding of God, yourself, others, now it's time to lay it out there, lay it out in prayer. And you take a crucifix and you start to talk to Jesus on that crucifix personally. Not in, like he's in some dreamy place on a cloud, up in the sky. No. Right here is Jesus. Talk to him. Look him in the face on that cross and talk to him. And I can remember my first shared prayer experience as a young person, and then subsequently having bore witness to so many of these different moments with the young people that I was blessed to serve. And they were some of those beautiful moments. So I'm sitting here and I'm thinking, when I do marriage prep for couples and we use the focus inventory, one of the things it asks is, do you pray for your spouse? No. Are you going to pray with your spouse when you're married? No. And I'm sitting here saying, listen, you got to do this.
Right.
Not some scripted below. No. Just talk to Jesus about the person that you love most on the face of this earth.
Right.
And so I was working with this couple, the communication's completely breaking down. They look back and they were talking about how, when they were first dating and stuff like that, like the faith was strong and the communication was strong, and now it's out the window. I'm like, okay, so here's what I need the two of you to do. I need you to give me 15 minutes every night amidst the chaos. And maybe for someone, it's in the morning because of their schedules, or maybe it's midday or whatever. But it's more about the consistency. 15 minutes a day. There's the caveat that you got sucked into. It's not just 15 minutes once. It's 15 minutes once a day, consistently, every day. Make that commitment to your spouse. Take some time in quiet. Be with them. And take the cross in your hand, the crucifix. And look Jesus right in the face. And there's multiple ways that you could go about this. You could just very naturally, if that's already your spirituality and you're good at just speaking to the Lord in prayer, go with it and start talking. And again, you're talking directly to Jesus about you and about your spouse in the context of your relationship. And you're bringing this to God because, again, I always say to people in like wedding homilies, God, since he created math, he can, sort of do what he wants with it and change the rules. So, we know the Trinity, 1 + 1 + 1 doesn't equal 3 in the Trinity. 1 + 1 + 1 = 1, one substance is God. Well, the same thing in marriage, husband, wife, God, one. That's a unit. That's right there. That's the great we of marriage. It's not just the two people, it's the three people.
Yep.
God and the husband and wife, that's the we. And if that relationship of love is strong, then that's going to be a strong marriage. And so again, what we're doing in this is we're going to talk to God about us. And the dynamic here is, number one, what you're talking about is where you are, and you're talking about your need, and your spouse gets to talk about their need. And here's the thing, you're both hearing each other's need.
I love it.
Because what happens? All of a sudden, because we've been married for X amount of years, everybody's supposed to have osmosis. He should know what I'm thinking. She should know what I'm feeling. It doesn't happen that way. We're not perfect, and this isn't AI, and ChatGPT is not ruling your relationship.
Right,
so
right.
What we need to do is we need to take time, and this is a way in a structured time to be able to say, here's my need. Here's my need. And the other person hears their need. Now, what's the next part? Not only are you voicing your need, but it's about the other person. Now you get to respond by making sure that they hear that you heard their need. And so in talking to the Lord, again, you're not talking to them, you're talking to the Lord. Lord, I just heard the need of my spouse. This is what she needs. She talked to you about this need that is on her heart. And Lord, I know that you are calling me as her husband to respond. I don't always know how to respond, Lord, but you know that I want to respond. So I need your help, and I need you to take the pride out of me so that I have the ability as a husband, as a man who loves this woman, to ask her more intently, more lovingly, how I can give her exactly what she needs. Because, Lord, out of giving everything to you, the next person that I want to give everything to is my wife.
Yep.
Okay. Now, that is a little advanced down the way. This is where I want you to get to. But that is the dynamic. And again, the incredible thing about all this is when I start to play this out with people, they're like, yes, this is what I've been wanting. This sounds amazing. Good. This is what we want you to do.
I did a radio show some time ago, and they asked me, Kim and I, thanks be to God, will be married 38 years in September.
Praise God.
It's amazing. I can't believe it sometimes. And they asked me, well, you've been married a long time. What happens? When you first get together, the thing that came to me when I really thought about that question is you get so busy. We get so busy with the kids and with careers and with bills and a house and this and that you stop dreaming together. And to me, that was the biggest thing, Father, that Kim and I need to dream together always. When we first got together, you're thinking about the house you're going to buy, the career you're going to have, what your kids are going to be like, you're dreaming all the time as a new couple. But then you get into this routine and you stop dreaming. Well, I think that conversation with God gives us a perfect opportunity to dream again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And again, it's a connection of hearts. So you're connecting your heart with the Lord's, you're connecting your heart with your spouses. They're doing likewise, and it's beautiful. So again, here's my need, my spouse, and again, one crucifix. Mm-hmm. Don't make this dueling crucifixes. Then you're going to start talking over one another. But the beautiful thing is I even showed, as I was sitting with a couple teaching them how to do this in person, I actually said, when you're ready and you feel the Lord calling you to say something, but the crucifix is in your hand, just open up your hands in front of you and your spouse will pass you the crucifix. Because there's that awareness of, oh, wow, my spouse wants to speak. I'm going to pass the crucifix to them and back. So my need, their need. Now, the reception of, I heard their need, I reiterate that. They hear my need, I reiterate that. Maybe there's an opportunity to clarify that, but we're all good there. Good. Now, Lord, here's where I need your help to meet the need of my spouse. Because again, in marriage, it is complete self-gift for the other. Right. So many people are still this is why the marriages fail. because they come into it, oh yeah, all that stuff about the other, it's great idea. You haven't conformed yourself to actually living for the other because you're still worried about yourself. Mm-hmm. And the other thing too is that up for the other needs to be mutual. There can't be a huge disparity, or else it's not going to work. So again, take that crucifix, quiet the space, put, particular chair, sofa, love seat, whatever, maybe sitting on the edge of the bed with your spouse, one crucifix, back and forth, make it a special crucifix that's for the two of you. Just don't go and grab some random thing. Go out and get one, have someone give it to you as a gift. Maybe there's an anniversary coming up or something like that. Make it the crucifix that you used for shared prayer, and start. Sign of the cross and speak to the Lord. Don't just speak in the ether of, oh, I would love to do this for, like you're talking in group therapy. No.
Right.
Talk to Jesus and say, Lord, this is where I am. And let your spouse respond, this is where I am. And now affirm that you've heard where your spouse is. And then move into a place of what you need from the Lord so that you can give your spouse what they need. Mm-hmm. Because we can't necessarily always get into the nooks and crannies of someone's brain. Yeah, it would be great if we could pick up on every telltale sign and all of those things. And one of the big things that this solves is that those areas of emotional neglect that can happen naturally in relationships
over time,
because you're not communicating over the course of time. Yep. That then we know in our work at Integrity Restored, can lead to persons seeking refuge in things like pornography, or seeking refuge in things like food, or seeking refuge in this, that, or the other
social
thing that
media
is not healthy. Yeah, exactly. They go off and like people, and again, people make jokes about this stuff, but there are two people in bed at the end of the night. One person's trying to sleep, the other one's giggling at Instagrams and TikToks and stuff like that. Yep. No. Because they're living in two separate worlds. Right. How about we just take 15 minutes to make sure that we're on the same page in living our life for one another? And that truly has become 15 minutes that could change your marriage.
I love it, brother. And 15 minutes is not a huge time commitment. Certainly something for almost every couple, unless they're working different shifts, should be a very manageable daily commitment.
And you know what, Jim? I've had a couple like that. And so what they did was they would actually voice record what they were doing in their part, and they would pass it back and forth to one another. And it became this thing. Like they got to hear, because they were working shifts where they weren't catching up except for on the weekends, because that was their situation in life at that moment. They were hearing each other's voice and they were passing back and forth. And it turned into this really beautiful thing that they were connected, even though they weren't seeing each other and spending a lot of time during the week because of their work schedules. And it was good. So the Holy Spirit always provides that creativity. And if you're not in tune with that creativity that the Holy Spirit's providing, reach out. And, we're always happy to help with those types of things.
For sure.
Because what we want as church is we want those healthy, love-filled, no barrier communicating marriages. And we're going to do everything within our power to provide that.
And that's a great point. Ladies and gentlemen, if you have a question for Father Hoffa, reach out to us, info@integrityrestored.com. And we'll be sure to pass that along to Father or any member of our team that can help you with that question. We're grateful for you listening. We're grateful for your prayers. We're grateful for your support. May God bless your journey.